Chapter 4 Relationships. The art of maintaining a good relationship. Many of us invest time and money to live in a nice house, drive a fancy car, and appear young and beautiful. But how much do we invest in the intangible like good relationships? If we are fortunate enough to be surrounded by family and friends who love us for who we are and genuinely care for our well-being, we feel secure and emotionally stable even in the face of challenges. On the other hand, even if we possess our dream house, a luxury car, and a perfect body, we remain deeply unhappy if there are problems in our relationships. When the problems persist without any resolution inside, we become depressed and even think of committing suicide. If happiness is what we hope to achieve in our lives, shouldn't we put more effort into cultivating good relationships with the people around us? In my 20s, I went on a 2-week backpacking trip in Europe with a close friend from my monastery. When we arrived at the airport in Rome, our spirits were high. We had known each other for a couple of years and got along very well. I liked his sense of humor and warm-hearted nature, and he appreciated my adventurous spirit and optimism. Since he did not speak much English, I felt obligated to stay close to him. After the first 7 days of spending every moment together, we would run out of things to talk about and both became irritable. It was not because of any concrete problem in our friendship. It was just that we longed for some time alone. So the following morning, I suggested we take different routes and meet up at the hostel at night. My friend welcomed my suggestion. As I left the hostel, I felt free. I knew I could choose to do whatever I liked for the day. I did not have to negotiate with my friend about where to go first and what to see next. But as the morning turned into the afternoon, I was reminded of the advantages of traveling with a friend. When I needed to go to the restroom, I couldn't longer rely on my friend to watch my backpack. Eating alone was no fun. It felt more like a chore than a time for enjoyment and relaxation. I didn't take any pictures of myself that day because I did not want to bother strangers. When I encountered something beautiful, such as a famous piece of art, I was not as thrilled since there was no one to share the excitement with. When I arrived at our hostel at the end of the day, I was quite happy to see my friend. Over dinner, we found many new things to talk about in recounting our prospective days. From this experience, I realized that the art of maintaining a good friendship can be compared to sitting by a fireplace. If we sit too close for too long, we become hot and possibly burned. If we sit too far away, we cannot feel the warmth. Similarly, no matter how well we get along with someone, if we stick too close without building in some personal space, we soon feel trapped and burned out. It is easy to take the relationship for granted and feel resentful about not having enough privacy and independence. On the other hand, if we put in too little effort to stay in touch with friends and family, we can't feel the warmth of their love. Striking a balance is key. I heard a story from Korea that holds another good lesson about relationships. It is about a man named Mang Sa-seong, 1360–1438, a member of the literary class during the Joseon dynasty. He was renowned for his intelligence. At age 19, he received the highest marks in the state civil service examination, and at age 20, he became county magistrate. But his quick success made him haughty and vain. One day, Ming paid a visit to an eminent Zen Buddhist master in his district and asked, "What should I keep in mind as I rule this village?" The master answered politely, "All that is necessary is to avoid evil and to do good for many." Ming snapped, "Even a child knows that. Is that all you have to tell me?" As Ming got up to leave, the master insisted he stay a bit longer. After brewing tea, the master poured some in Ming's cup but did not stop when the cup was full. Perplexed, Ming demanded to know what he was doing. "You seem to know that too much tea will ruin the floor," the master answered. "But how do you not know that too much knowledge will ruin one's character?" Embarrassed, Ming sprang to his feet and rushed toward the door to leave. But in his haste, he hit his head on the doorframe. The master gently admonished him, "If you lower your head, you won't bump into trouble." As we can see, too much pride can be a source of conflict. If we treat people with humility and respect, conflict can be avoided. It is often our pride that encourages us to stand up straight and wage a battle of wills. While fighting to determine who is right and who is wrong, we end up causing physical and emotional pain. Some people even drag family and friends into the conflict and create more unnecessary confusion and ill will. If someone comes up to me and says, "Let's see whose religion is right," I first listen respectfully, then say, "Thank you for introducing me to aspects of your religion that I didn't know much about. I appreciate that." If I were to engage in an argument in order to win, the only result would be that someone would feel hurt. Even if I did win, what good would result? The other person would only feel defeated. We all grow up in different environments. Our experiences are varied, and so are our personalities, habits, values, and thoughts. It is not easy for diverse people to live together and try to forge relationships. According to the Buddhist scripture, the treatise on the King of Treasures Samadhi, do not expect others to follow your way. When things always go your way, it is easy to become arrogant. As we experience adversity in our lives, we mature and become more understanding. Just remember that the person who has made your life difficult today could be an undercover teacher sent from above, taxed with your spiritual growth. Do you often feel lonely at work or in school? Perhaps your heart is closed off to those around you. I don't get her. I am better than her. We are on different wavelengths. If you think this way, how could you not be lonely? Open your heart and have a cup of coffee with her. You will soon see that she is not that different from you. When you open up about your hurt and sorrow, I feel grateful that you have turned to me for support. It's as though I am meeting you in the most sacred chamber of your heart. Politicians always say what sounds good, but what they say does not always resonate with us, because their words are coming from their head, not from their heart. Speak from your heart, which is tender, simple, and true. People will understand you and like you. If you think you are either superior or inferior to someone, an invisible wall goes up between you. Treat him like an old friend you haven't seen in a while. When you let your guard down, so will be the end of a sushi roll. Will the filling sticking out is often tastier than a piece sliced neatly from the middle. Someone sleek and well put together can come across as cold and alienating, while an average guy without pretense is more genuine and attractive. Do you know why that conversation is so boring? Because we trapped in politeness, unable to speak from the heart. Any conversation can become interesting and lively as soon as we start speaking with real honesty. When someone swears at you, stay calm and collected for 30 seconds. Then that is the end of it. But if you fight back and demand what is your problem, you will have to spend more time with that unhappy person. People say hurtful things because they themselves have been hurt. When you encounter someone prickly and malicious, think about what kind of miserable situation he must be in. If he is too much, then you don't have time. Just whisper, "Bless you," and move on. When you criticize someone, see if you are doing so out of envy. Your criticism reveals more about yourself than you realize. Even if you are correct, people still may find you unappealing. If you wish to communicate effectively with others, better to describe what you are feeling rather than go on the offensive. For instance, say, "I am very sad to hear that." Not, "Why do you always make me sad?" You want people to hear you rather than have to defend themselves from you. When you are disappointed, don't wait too long to say so. When you bottle up your feelings, the river of emotion swells, making it difficult to cross over and speak calmly. Do you have a lot of enemies? Then be humble and stop speaking ill of people. Those who do not make enemies are more powerful than those who have the strength to fight them all and win. The noise from a motorcycle assaults the driver more than anyone. The driver has only himself to blame when he is old and can't hear anything. When you speak ill of others, it hurts you more than anyone because your negativity is loudest within you. No matter how hurt you are, you don't need to have the last word. The last word can obliterate even the good memories. Although things have changed, is it necessary to discard all your memories, especially the happy ones? When blinded by anger, we make choices we later regret. Leaving the room before the bridge is burned is a sign of maturity. The best way to get even with someone who has left you is to meet someone new and become happy again. Plotting for revenge and remaining jealous after many years is a formula for endless misery. He complains about her behind her back. She, without knowing anything, approaches him and says the kindest words. The best revenge is love. Even the most beautiful music gets tiresome if I listen to it constantly. But if I listen to it after some time away, it becomes wonderful again. The problem is not the music itself, it is my relationship with it. Even my best friend gets annoying if I am with her for too long. But if I see her after a break, she is wonderful again. The trouble is not the person, it is my relationship with her. There is a saying in an early Buddhist scripture, "Paper wrapped around incense smells of incense, and string binding fish smells of fish." Whether we like it or not, we naturally become influenced by our surroundings. Ask yourself, who do I want to emulate? Is that person physically or mentally nearby? If we help someone in the hope of getting something in return, this is not giving but lending. True giving is done without expecting anything in return. It also means we relinquish control over what we have given. When conversation turns to someone's flaws, try not to participate and gently redirect the conversation. When we speak too much, it is easy to speak ill of someone. So when you feel talkative, just be mindful. When you are asked to do something, determine if you can do it. If you cannot, then decline as soon as possible. The way in a restaurant you would send back the wrong order. If you don't send it back immediately, you will have to pay for it. There is a reason people flock to certain individuals. They are warm, nurturing, and magnanimous. They are generous with their time, money, and compliments. If you try to lead people only by stressing rules and principles, they will leave you, one by one. A good leader knows this, and thus tries to cultivate virtue. According to the wise Confucian scholar Jung Yuk-young, 1762 to 1836, the best way to hide your wealth is to give it away. If you are generous with your wealth, the money that would have disappeared sooner or later becomes an everlasting jewel, deeply engraved in the heart of the recipient. The air in hell enters my body and becomes part of me. The air that I exhale moves into someone else and becomes part of her. Just by looking at how the air moves, we realize we are all connected to one another, not just figuratively, but also literally. Whether we like it or not, we are all connected, and it is unthinkable to be happy all by oneself. His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The whole universe is contained in an apple wedge in a lunchbox. Apple tree, sunlight, cloud, rain, earth, air, farmer's sweet are all in it. Delivery truck, gas, market, money, cashier's smile are all in it. Refrigerator, knife, cutting board, mother's love are all in it. Everything in the whole universe depends on one another. Now think about what exists in you. The whole universe is in us. The journey of forgiveness. The person who betrayed you and left, the person who stole from you and disappeared, the person who stabbed you in the back and acted as if nothing happened, forgive them. Not for them, but for your own sake, truly, completely, for yourself. Not because they deserve your forgiveness, not because they are only human. Forgive them, so you can be free, so you can be happy, so you can go on living your life. You won't be easy and it will feel unjust. A sudden gush of anger may pass through you. Tears of bitterness may roll down your face. Allow those feelings to surface and let them be. Treat them kindly with your compassionate heart. After honoring your tears, ask yourself softly, do I want to keep carrying this resentment in my heart? Do I want to live as a victim forever? When you feel ready, muster your courage and make up your mind. Although your heart won't listen to your mind's decision, resolve to forgive and to free yourself from emotional bondage. And then revisit your feelings of anger and bitterness. Give them your full permission to express themselves. How do those feelings manifest in your body? Do they become tense muscles, a rapid heartbeat, flushed skin? Do they emerge as shallow breathing, as pressure in your chest? Let the waves of sensations surface and recede. Attend to the sensations moving through your body. When the waves become a bit calmer, look deeply and see what is beneath them. Are there any hidden emotions beneath the anger and bitterness? Do you see fear, shame, or grief? Is there loneliness and insecurity? Rather than drowning in them, observe them. As your heart becomes more tender and open, turn your attention toward the aggressor. Can you look beneath the person's mask and feel what is underneath such violence and dishonesty? Can you sense his fear, insecurity, and unworthiness? Can you feel loneliness or shame under the surface? Rather than surrendering to him, observe him compassionately. Inside of us there is a steep mountain of fear and a deep river of grief. But there is also the compassionate eye witnessing your inner landscape. May you find your inner witness, the source of freedom and healing. When we hate someone, we think about him a lot. Unable to let him go, we gradually begin to act like him. Don't let him become a long-term tenant of the heart. Evict him right away with a notice of forgiveness. Does the person you hate deserve to be carried around in your heart? Keep in your heart only those who love you. If you carry around with you people you hate, it causes only angst and depression. In your relationships, assume you will need to give more than you receive. We remember so well what we have done for others, but easily forget what others have done for us. Even if you feel you are owned a little, it's likely you have received close to what you have given. Seeing that I am a monk, some people put their palms together in greeting, and I involuntarily do the same. Some nod, and I involuntarily do the same. Humans are like mirrors, we reflect each other. When a wise person wants something from others, she first does what she desires from them, exemplifying rather than asking for it. If you want a friend to remember your birthday, remember hers first. If you want your husband to give you a message, give him a message first. If you want your children to watch less TV, turn off your TV first. Don't just wait for what you want to happen. Act first. The wise man ducks his head when someone swings at him. If he swings back just because he was swung at, he will be seen as the aggressor and fail to win people's heart. Although it may seem unjust, refraining from reacting out of anger shows true character. People turn sullen over a trivial emotional matter and then attack the person later with an unrelated but logical sounding pretext. When you lower yourself, the world elevates you. When you elevate yourself, the world lowers you. When you arrive at the peak of enlightenment, you will understand. Your peak is the same height as your neighbors. At the peak, you see everyone's holiness. When you keep clashing with someone, it may be the world's way of asking you to look closely at yourself. When you don't like someone, try to figure out what it is you don't like. See whether you have a similar flaw within yourself. The flaw that you immediately notice in someone you meet is probably a flaw of yours too. If you didn't have it, you wouldn't have noticed it so quickly. No one is inherently good or bad. Only the circumstance in which we encounter each other is good or bad. A criminal who happens to stop a car from running over me is an angel sent by God. A Nobel Peace Prize winner who happens to bump into me on the subway is a jerk. In a gathering of 7 or 8 people, we will surely meet 1 or 2 who like us a lot, and 1 or 2 who are not that fond of us. Don't take it personally. This is just the way of the world. Let people have their own opinions. They are entitled to them. It is when you want to change their opinion, problems arise. This is not only impossible and futile, but also unnecessary. How boring would the world be if someone thought exactly the same way? When you grant people freedom, you will find yours too. What is the use of someone carrying a designer handbag when her behavior lacks the same refinement? The more you try to change your spouse, children, or friends, the more difficult and strained your relationships become. People do not change easily unless they suffer tremendous hardship or have a life-altering experience. I was once told by a Buddhist master that there are two kinds of children in the world: those born to repay the kindness of their parents and those born only to take what their parents have. Ask yourself, which kind of a son or daughter are you to your parents? When you think your spouse won't change and you worry how you will live the rest of your life together, ask yourself, am I perfect in my spouse's eyes? When faced with a problem in a relationship, it will never be solved if you begin by asking, why can't he understand me? Or why won't he just do what I say? It is because this approach begins with a demand. Instead, begin by asking, what is it that makes him unhappy and feel misunderstood? Or what past experience is making him respond in this way? When you begin with the intention of understanding him, your heart is released from the prison of your views and opens up to feel his pain. People who easily ignore others do so because they're afraid of being ignored. Why can't you trust that friend? Because you know all too well that you too are capable of lying in a similar circumstance. What makes us truly happy is meeting someone who accepts us for who we are. Even if we are successful, we can still feel inadequate and insecure if we are made to believe that something is wrong with us. According to some psychologists, happiness can be assessed with two simple questions. First, do you find meaning in your work? Second, do you have good relationships with those around you? Are you lonely because you are alone? According to the Talmud, every blade of grass has an angel who protects it. The angels whisper to each blade, grow, grow. If even a blade of grass has an angel, wouldn't each of us as well? If you feel lonely, think of the angel on your shoulder and be grateful that you are cared for. A mosquito has been in my room for the last 2 days and it still hasn't bitten me. Okay, let us live together. We must share some karmic affinity. We live among countless relations, family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, etc. Life is good when these relationships are good. Being happy by yourself doesn't last long. For spiritual practitioners, relationships are the final test. Even if you have awakened to your enlightened nature, there is still further to go in your spiritual journey if you are not living harmoniously with others.